Okay, so we have kind of a fun example here. What I have is a couple bars of a Bach harmonization, um, and this is the figured bass with melody, which very often happens. And we also have the way Bach realized this particular one. So let's look at it really quick, and then we'll look at how Bach realized it. So let's just hear it. Okay, one more time. Let's not jump all over the place. Okay, so let's just look through really quick and see what we have here. So we're in G minor. Often when you see this, it means, hey, this is in G minor, which is not entirely clear from this key signature. So it's handy to know. So what we have here, we have a floating natural. So that means this is going to be a root position chord. Root position chord built on D, but it's going to have a raised third. That's what that sharp is telling us. Then we have a root position G chord here. It's going to be G minor, but root position. A, 6/4. So this is a second inversion chord with a sharped 6 on it. But the 4 is left alone. Here we have a first inversion chord with B in the bass, and then a root position chord with G in the bass, or a G root position chord. Here we have a 6/5, so that's going to be a seventh chord. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second when we look at how Bach did it. Then we have a root position G chord, and then a D chord with a raised third. Now, what do we do with the melody? Pretty much nothing. We just have to make sure our arrangement stays out of the way of the melody, or our realization, I should say, stays out of the way of the melody. So we want this to be the soprano voice. So what we basically have to work with here is the alto and the tenor voices to realize the figured bass. We can't change the melody, and none of the notes in the melody should conflict with the figured bass. If we're doing it right, the notes in the melody will be in the figured bass. For example, let's look at this one. This is going to be a root position G chord, which means this note ought to be in a root position G chord somewhere, and it is. So G, B, and D are my notes, and this is a B flat, actually. But that's totally in the chord. Cool. So here's what I think would be a good thing for you to do. After I'm done talking here, pause this and see if you can realize this. See if you can figure out the Roman numerals, and I'll give you a clue on that. It's a whole bunch of 1 and 5. And then see if you can do a realization of it. Okay, so pause the video. Take your staff paper that I know you have handy there and try to figure this out. And then we'll look at, in the next video, we'll look at how Bach did it. And you can compare yours against his. Now remember that when we do that, yours can be different. That's totally okay. Your Roman numerals should be the same though. Your Roman numerals would be the same, but the way you stack notes in between, there's a lot of different ways you could do it, and they could all be correct. So, okay, so jot this down, do this, and then the next video, we'll look at how Bach did it.